Welcome back, everyone. We're here in the next installment of our Female Executive Leadership Series. Today, we're sitting with Sharmini Wainwright. Sharmini comes to us with a pretty rich history of success and growth over her career. She started as a chartered accountant with Arthur Andersen before joining PageGroup 17 years ago in Australia. Numerous roles, promotions, countries later. She's now the Senior Managing Director of our UK listed business. Let's get after it. First question. Think of your journey and how you got where you are today. What story or lesson can you share that's unique to you being a female leader?
I feel sometimes, working your way through the ranks as such, as a ambitious female wanting to conquer the world, as a 25-year-old, 30-year-old, etc. Now I'm a bit older than that. You sort of have this big view of the world and what you want to get out of that. And I just remember there were various points of my career where perhaps the judgment lens that's looked on yourself is different. And at times I've been told, oh, Sharmini, is she tough enough to take on that challenge? Or Sharmini, can she make the hard calls? Right through to the other end of the extreme is Sharmini, she can be a bit direct at times. I almost feel like for women, there is this additional expectation. You've got to be loud but soft. You've got to be bold but conservative. You've got to be decisive but then collaborate. I found that the toughest challenges along the way, because people at times do view you with a different lens. And it's when you get to work with people who just want to understand you and want to support you in that journey, it really does feel different.
Have you had to sacrifice something to get to where you are today?
I had my first child 5 years ago. And at that point, I was determined to prove to myself that I can be a career woman and I am going to be a great mom. I'm going to be a great wife and I'm going to have it all. And I remember it was sort of 6 months into coming back from maternity leave and I was adjusting to someone else actually looking after my child all day. And I sort of broke down at one point to one of my good friends from Australia who just said, you know what, Sharms, it's so important that you do what you love. And at the same time, your child is also getting loved and supported by someone else. That's the only important thing. It doesn't matter who that is. I think if I think of the word sacrifice, there's been times where you've not been able to spend as much time with your kids. Like last week, they had a breakup party at the beach and I couldn't make it because I just booked my day out with other things. But I think now I'm much more at peace with it and I don't view it as a sacrifice because I've changed the way I talk about it. So to my children, I'll say work makes mum really happy and this is why mum goes to work. So then they also see the thing that's taking mum's time away as a positive thing and hopefully that encourages them. So that's probably something I've had to work through over the last 5 years and that's life. You've got to make sacrifices for some things, but it's got to be at a level that you're comfortable with. Anytime I've asked for some flexibility in something or even my work arrangements, I do a 9-day fortnight because that one extra day just gives me the mental space to go, that's my day with my kids. So it's an extra 26 days a year that I get to spend as a mum with them. So you've got to reconcile in different ways.
It's a very good segue to the next question, which was around the best and worst decisions you've ever made.
I was working in our Australian business for 10 years. And honestly, I couldn't have asked for a more brilliant 10 years. You're in your 20s, you know what you know, but you also don't know a lot of things. So you can just enjoy a career for what it is. And we grew up together and there was just such a great group of colleagues. And I think that's why we all stayed. But it took me 10 years to go, you know what? I need to leap on board this Asia growth bandwagon that we kept hearing about. And even then I was quite nervous. So I was 33 at that time. But then I thought, look, what have I got to lose? And landing here, at that point I was a director. You're given a portfolio of people to look after and grow the business, but you don't know anyone in Hong Kong. You have no track record. This team are looking at you like, who's this Aussie Indian chick that's landed in Hong Kong and what's she going to do? So that was a huge year of just being uncomfortable, meeting as many people as possible and just trying to connect and understand Hong Kong, but also understand, more importantly, the people in my business. And as uncomfortable it was, I just think what an experience to, 10 years into your career to be thrown in the deep end and try to prove to yourself you can do it.
The next question, ways in which you have gained more confidence in yourself as a leader.
My sister would say I have no shortage of confidence, and it annoys the hell out of her since we were little. But look, I think business confidence, I'm sure everyone looks back on their earlier days of people leadership and cringes when you think back how you perhaps dealt with situations, ignored your gut feeling, and maybe didn't seize opportunities as well. I think more recently where I've got the confidence is the world is becoming much more open. So being vulnerable with your people and serving your people is a great leadership context now that may have been viewed as weak back in the day. So there's a huge opportunity to really just get rid of those barriers and really build trust with your people by yourself being more open and vulnerable about what you're going through, what you're feeling, how you can work together. I think I've also become much more confident that I don't have to have the answer to every business problem. We work together to achieve that. And I think that's been a big step change for me personally, but also our leadership team here in Hong Kong. We're a team, and the team is more powerful than any one individual, and the team will keep kicking on.
Moving on, now let's look at you as a mentor. I guess let's start with, why is it important for you to be a mentor?
Look, I'm lucky to have worked with some great people along the way. Anyone who started in Big Four, and especially Anderson's, will know I wouldn't do it another way. It was just a brilliant 2.5 years. You're a wide-eyed graduate, you're an auditor, and with that comes all the tags, but you party hard on a Friday night and you build relationships. And I love that, and I thought that was great. And the connectivity with people probably started then. And then you move to Page and you've got different people that help you through. And I'm very grateful for that. And I've always wanted to do that the other way as well, because people need help at certain times. People need to be able to see the bigger picture. It's always easier for someone else to tell you the bigger macro perspective for your life than it is for yourself to see it. And it's a funny thing. So it's a huge part of why I do what I do now. So, and I definitely feel you've got to help prompt people to have the conversations that they need to have. And maybe sometimes it's supporting them or giving context on that, or just giving them the confidence to do that. I genuinely believe if you invest in the relationship, these can be really valuable.
Let's now look at your mentees, and to all mentees out there, what advice would you have for them?
There's a huge moment, I think, that happened with our business here in Hong Kong, probably about 7 years ago, where we got a new boss basically to come and run this business, who threw out the notion of how we used to look at an individual's performance. So we'd always look at someone's performance and say, great, this is what you've achieved. What are your areas of focus? And the areas of focus were inevitably the things you weren't great at. And my boss, Andy Bento, then came on board and he said, you know what? That is not the best way of looking at personal development and growth. How about this concept? And this concept really changed him a lot. And it was all about focus on your strengths and find 1 or 2 strengths that are so profoundly strong that as soon as anyone says your name, they think of these things. And as long as you don't have any weaknesses that are so bad, they will also overshadow, because what's the likelihood you're going to get better at your innate weaknesses? Quite limited. And I think that was just such a positive change in how individuals looked at themselves from a progress perspective. My advice to the mentees would be, find what you're great at and invest in it, make it better. And in turn, I think it gives you purpose for why you do what you do. And that's what you want to be known by. And how much more of a positive conversation is that to have with someone rather than, so, those things you're not great on? Tell me about the progress on that.
All right. Pivoting a little bit now to just you as an individual, as well as a leader. Something you believe now, which 6 months ago wouldn't have even have occurred to you?
I think that biggest thing is that life is not certain. Life is fragile. Anything can change at any minute. Your world could be on a high at the moment, and then the next minute you're thrown into something really difficult. Who would have ever thought what the world's going through was even a possibility this time last year? In Hong Kong, we've gone through our fair share of challenges over the last 12 months, whether that be economically related, politically related, and plus health related with COVID. It's a beautiful business I get to run here in Hong Kong. That's a very golden business for the PageGroup. And this year, we've just had to deal with challenges from a results perspective, clients perspective, internal people perspective, change perspective that we've not dealt with before. So I think for me, it's that life's not certain.
Fill in the blank and then answer. My hometown is, and that's important.
Sydney!
And why it's important to me.
You know, I'm such a tourist when I go back home because we'll always stay in the city for 1 or 2 nights, walk around the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House and just enjoy the city moments. I just miss the Aussie spirit, the mateship. Nothing ever changes there. So compared to Hong Kong, which is a bustling, fast-paced, crazy city that I've grown to love, Sydney just seems the opposite. You have dinner at Sydney at 8:30 and they'll ask for last orders. Whereas Hong Kong, that's your normal reservation time. So look, I love it. It'll always be home. It's where my parents, my sister and family are. So definitely home.
The personality trait of yours that gets you into the most trouble?
The answer would be talking without thinking. I think my mouth sometimes gets me in trouble because I just get overly passionate about something and just shoot off without thinking about what I'm saying.
Well, it's evident there's the passion behind it, and it's fantastic to see. So keep doing what you're doing.